Process it. Take your time to process. All right. There's no rush. There's no hurry. The reason I have you journal and put down the date and all that kind of stuff is so you can reflect and look back at today. A lot of people, it takes 2 years. I'll be honest. A lot of people have gone through this program, Suicide Watch, having a lot of issues. After 2 years, they're completely transformed. They're happy. They have joy. They have peace. They have hope. So just be patient with yourself and don't expect a drastic change, because we've been through a lot. We've seen a lot of trauma and we've had a lot of issues, and it's built up for years. So there's not any hurry, there's not any rush, but I'm just going to really encourage you to journal.
So I put for my biggest challenge this week is, for me, it's to essentially be present. To not be thinking about work or the stuff that I should or need to be doing right now. The other is, for me, I wanted to use this as an opportunity to not be on my phone, because that is an addictive device as well, which I am addicted to. And like every time I hear one of you guys' phone buzz, I'm like, I should check my phone, you know? So I actually turned it on airplane mode and just left it in the bunker. But that's difficult because I want to go check it and see if I have, make sure my businesses aren't burning down right now. But yeah, the biggest thing is staying present in the moment right now, not thinking about anything else.
And it's tough. So
if it burn down, you just file the insurance claim.
Exactly.
They're virtual. I meant more virtually.
They're smoking. The data center's on fire, man. We got to go check the data center.
The internet is on fire.
Oh, where would we be without our smartphones? I was thinking I am going to talk some about health and wellness. I also want to see what Hillary says upstairs, because I don't want, I always give you a little bit different opinion. But on that note, you said something that's very important to me and something that I realized, and I'll give you real life scenarios. It's what makes it the best. So a few years ago, I was here in Kansas City, and I was home all alone, not like the movie, like with people, but I was home alone. I think my wife and kids, everybody was traveling somewhere, but I was at home, and I had an Apple phone at the time, and my phone was just jacked, it wouldn't work. So I go down to the Apple store, and I drop it off for repair, and they're like, oh, it's going to be 4 hours or whatever it is, 6 hours or whatever. I was like, oh my God, okay. So I walked home, and I was like, oh, there's no way for my family to get a hold of me. Let me just email them or text them or whatever. And I was like, oh, we don't have any internet. I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So I pulled out my vinyl, started playing records, right? And then I started just coloring and drawing for the next 4 hours until I could go pick up my phone. Can you wake him up? You awake? Okay. You just dreaming in? Being mindful and present? All right.
After the yoga sessions, when I start to hear your voice.
I'm that's what I want. That's what I want. And I realized how peaceful it was. Because before then, all my notifications from every damn app were always going. Every time I got an email, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, whatever, all of them. Beep, 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 beep. And what I realized is this thing has become a huge distraction. And that it was not allowing me to be mindful. It was not allowing me to be present. So when I got my phone back, I turned off every single notification on every single app except for a phone call. And it's still that way today. So I have to go to this phone, and if I click Hangouts for messages, then I'll see, okay, I got a message. If I want to know what's going on in Facebook, then I click Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever it is. But I no longer allow this phone to control me and be a distraction. So I've turned off every single notification. And so I encourage you to find the opportunity to do things like that in your life too, because when you're having a conversation with somebody and this thing vibrates, then you're not really focusing on that conversation. You're like, who emailed me? Was that email that I was thinking about that I really needed, that really important email? Well, so then are you going to say, oh, excuse me a second, I need to check this email? Oh, well, that was nothing. That was so, and then you're really distracted and you get in this complete total zone. So I'm going to encourage you to use that as an example. What else in your life is a distraction? What in your life is causing you not to be able to be centered and grounded and be present in the moment? And we kind of talked about that yesterday a little bit. I said, what are you doing in your life that's distracting you? Are you binge watching Hulu, Netflix?
If I could throw something else in about the phone, just because in my health company we actually have an entire division devoted to this now, which is called digital dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually a health disease. It's going to be one of the biggest epidemics that we'll see
Oh,
in our
absolutely.
lifetimes, especially if you have kids. The cell phones are considered one of the most, they've done the MRIs and the brain scans, and it releases the exact same chemicals in the brain as cocaine,
Yep.
heroin. It's one of the most addictive things, especially if you have kids under 14. They say essentially under 14 they shouldn't be using devices, which is probably unrealistic, but limit, we call it healthy tech habits, healthy tech time. But also for us, they're actually seeing for the first time in human history that kids' brains are actually shrinking in size.
Yeah.
So they say we're de-evolving at the speed of technology. So there's less gray matter in the brain because of devices. So it's just...
That's true. It's a trigger. You get a lot of automatic response, happy, joy, sad, whatever. So that's why, before I lead a yoga class, I may do certain things on my phone. I'm usually looking at sequences and things like that, but I won't get on Facebook. I won't get on Instagram. I won't get on them because it affects me emotionally. And I always want to be able to give my yoga class 110%, right? And so if you realize this is going to distract you on some of that stuff, filter it. So what I try to do, it doesn't always work, but my objective is to get on social media 3 times a day. 8 o'clock in the morning, noon, and 8 o'clock at night, and that's it. And I may be on there a longer time at that period, so I may be on there 30 minutes, or I may be on there an hour if I'm trying to check messages and all those things, people responding to me. But I don't have Facebook Messenger on my phone. So weeks like this, I'm on Facebook Messenger a lot more because people are reaching out to me about yoga and things like that. So this really is a great opportunity to become detached, but to control it, to have enough self-control. And that's the thing, if this isn't serving you like it should be, it's okay to delete apps. It's okay to say no to certain things, right? To have those healthy boundaries, right?
One little thing to get to that level, because it's pretty hard to go from just always checking your phone to that, is, and you'll probably talk about this because it's pretty big, but delayed gratification. So one of the best ways to try to overcome addiction in general is delaying gratification in small things
Right.
that are completely unrelated, because it builds up your ability to delay the impulses to the things that bring you gratification. So, which is what addiction is. But when you get that notification, you see it on your phone, whether it's an email, text, or whatever, you make a conscious decision to wait a period of time. 10
Right.
seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever. You just don't give in to that immediate, I see it, I open it, I get that gratification. You delay it, and by doing that, you can expand it longer and longer.
Yeah, so this phone I turn off at night. I don't know if you probably know this, but the smartphones send data to all the advertisers through at night when it's sleeping. Your battery used to go down 3 or 5% overnight. Now you wake up, it's 15, 25%. You're like, why is my battery down? Because they're sending data all night long from your phone out to advertisers and marketers. So what I do is I actually turn my cell phone off at night. And then I have another phone that's not a phone, but it's a phone. And I use that a lot of times for apps and different things like that. And then that's my alarm clock. So it's okay to turn your phone off. It's okay if this is not bringing joy into your life, right? Then do it. So when we bought this van, we sold our house, we bought a van. Did I tell you this story about my clothes? Okay, so my wife, I think she went to Chicago or something for work for 3 days. And she's like, and I showed you guys my van up there, right? And I showed you those little containers. This container right here. I'll put this on the camera in case somebody wants to see. My wife says, I'm going out of town and you have to put all your stuff that you own in like 5 of those containers. So I had 2 for like electronics, and then I had 3 for clothes. So one of those has my winter clothes in it. So like pants, a long sleeve shirt, and then some socks, gloves, hat, and a scarf. And then I realized that if I rolled up my clothes, I could put a week's worth of clothing in one of those. So I have 2 of these with shorts and t-shirts.
What are you wearing, a G-string?
I don't own underwear. I don't own underwear, man.
Winter clothes.
So, that's a lot of times within our life, we need somebody else to kind of help push and prompt, but sometimes we can do that ourselves. And I realized, like, I have very limited space in this van. This is all the space, this is all the room that I have for clothes, right? I have to get them to fit within these containers. That's it. That's all I have space for. So think about that a lot of times, like if you own a house and you start buying this and that and you start accumulating just stuff, materialistic stuff. And if somebody said, well, you have to sell everything and then you have to go live in a van, what would you take with you?
Nothing.
Right.
I did that.
Yeah.
After the hurricane down in Texas,
Queen.
I got rid of my house, packed up everything, put it in storage,
Yeah.
bought MREs, water, and went down to Texas, lived in a tent for 2 months before we
Yeah.
got an RV to live in.
And it's liberating. It's freeing. It's cleansing to get rid of all that stuff from the past. I knew I probably eventually was going to buy a house. I just didn't know when and where. So what I did was I got one of those like U-Haul 6x6 little trailer things, and I put antiques and art in there. So I had my toolbox. I have a table that I had an artist make, and then a headboard that she custom made a chakra. I had a yoga props, and then I had like stuff from my grandpa. So antique stuff from World War II, like Leica cameras, old typewriters, cedar chests, a desk, stuff like that from World War II that I did not want to get rid of. So I put all that in there, and I was like, I'll put this in storage, and if we buy a house, we buy a house, who knows when or where, right? So we ended up buying a house, and everything in this house is completely new and fresh. Every sheet, every blanket, every dish, everything. It's all new because we didn't have anything. We got rid of all of it. So think about that in your life. Like when I'm picking out 2 weeks of clothing, it's 2 things, necessity, and the other thing is, does this bring me joy? Is this something that I can really hang on to, or do I need to get rid of it? So now it's like in my life, like I keep myself on that same regimen. I have 2 weeks worth of clothing, and if I get something new, then I have to get rid of something old. If something rips or tears or it's tore up, then I give myself permission to buy something new. So think about those things in your life that you have in excess that you can get rid of.
That's a kind of good talking point. I'd like to just, could you tell more about that experience with you?
About what?
When you were in the van?
He's in an RV. He said he bought an RV.
No, I went down in my car.
Yeah.
Just packed up, I got 6 cases of MREs, me and a buddy went down there, and we got cans of food, MREs, water. We had enough water for both of us to eat 4 meals a day for 45 days. Went down there, met up with the construction company, and then started rebuilding. You know, I did sales, so I was selling the contracts, and then did that for a few months, and then after a couple months, we're living in a tent. I happened to find there was an RV next to a building that somebody was living in, and I was like, let me rent this. Rented it for like $400 a month, and lived in it. So couldn't drive anymore, but everything else still operated.
Yeah.
You know, and I did that for another 6 months, and then came back.
What were the differences that you noticed between like having all your stuff in a house and?
Well, for me, it was, I had left for 59 months and went overseas. So I've left often, and I've gone overseas often. So for me, it was easy to do that. It was just putting myself back in a mindset that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going down here for a reason. This is what I need, and I brought work clothes and fucking food and water. That was
Right.
it, you know, and that was literally it. It was great. And then came back up here, and then we took a cruise. I came back up here, and I actually got rid of my phone right before the cruise in June of 18, and I didn't get another phone until September of last year.
Yeah.
You know, and even at that, I only have Facebook and then Bleacher Report, and that's really the only thing I use a phone for. Is sports and fucking occasionally Facebook.
I'm going to give you my contact information. That way, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can. All right, or find me on anything. It's Kerry Stewart, Kerry. Last name is Steuart. So my email is my last name, Steuart @me.com. M. Michael Edward.
M-E?
Yes, sir. .com. Mm-hmm.
With an M and an
Yes, sir.
E. And one more time, last name, S-T-E.
UART. Stewart. And my phone number is 816-313-2013. So if you guys ever need anything, want to connect, feel free to reach out to me. You can call, text, email. I'm on, I don't know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, so if you just search my name, you can find it. Some of the videos we've done here are on there as well, and just some of the other things, like talks like this, are on there as well. If there's something that you wanted specific, you can just let me know, all right? And I'll put that up there for you. He wanted to know about yoga in everyday life. Hopefully I answered his questions. I never asked him that. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do a very detailed video Monday when I get back into town. My son-in-law is gonna do it. He'll do like a drone footage and all that stuff. But I already have like the list of the items. I just don't have the price, and the reason why is because prices are always gonna fluctuate. But it'll give you basically everything that I have in that van. So, yeah. Hey Mike, how are you? Good. Good. So, let's talk about, unless we have any other input, everybody good? Other comments? Let's talk about healthy boundaries. That's where I was trying to go with this anyway. And so, healthy boundaries is sometimes tough, right? Because we get confused and we don't understand, and it's complex, right? So I'm going to ask you a series of questions I want you to write in your journal, and I want you to just leave space because I'm not going to go through and have you fill these out right now, but I want you to start thinking about those, okay? So where do you find inspiration? What excites you? What gets you motivated? What is it you want to do? You know, a lot of those people, motivational speakers and health coaches will say, you know, if you do it for free and you can get paid for it, then you'll be set. So what is it that really inspires you? Where do you find that inspiration? And it could be books or movies or friends or relatives. So where do you find your inspiration? And I want you to realize that boundaries truly are everything. When you're inspired, the change is more impactful. When you're inspired, the change is more impactful. Let that sink in for a second. There's so many times in our life that you don't want to do something, or you don't understand, or you're frustrated. It's not very impactful change. But once you get inspired, once you get excited about life and this journey, your visions, your dreams, then it becomes more impactful. And then what happens? You become more motivated and more excited to do this, to accomplish this. So think about where you find your inspiration and realize that that is going to make your change more impactful. And the walls keep you blocked. Healthy boundaries are the doors that open the path. So I'm trying to think of a good example, but let's think about, say you're in a relationship with somebody and there's certain things that they want you to do that you're not comfortable doing. How you communicate that, how you articulate that, that's a healthy boundary. Right? You're letting them know that I'm not comfortable doing this. I still love and expect you. I still want to be in this relationship, but I'm not comfortable doing that. So work is an easy one. So like, you get your new job, you're working 40 hours a week, and you have specific tasks that you accomplish. And if you do those tasks really well, what happens? They give you more tasks, more and more and more, right? And so now what happens? You're probably working more than 40 hours a week, and now you're not as productive. If you're doing A, B, C, and D, you were able to do A, B, C really effective, really efficient, right? And you're really motivated and you're really excited. Now they've put D on, and now they want to put E on, and now they want to get down to F, and you're like, oh my God, I'm working 60 hours a week, and now I'm nowhere near as productive. A lot of studies have shown that around 32 hours a week is really the prime productivity. Once you start working after that, you lose focus, you lose motivation, you lose energy. There's nothing positive about it. So about 32, 33 hours a week is the ideal situation to be working productively. And what they've also realized is that people that give healthy boundaries to their boss and say, okay, I can do A, I can do E, and I can do G effectively, but I can't do B, C, and E effectively, and all these things together. So let's talk about this. Let's see what we can do to accomplish this within this room. Because here's my time frame of 40 hours. I want to be there. I want to accomplish that. So the same thing in your relationships. You only have so much time to be really productive. I mean, you really only have so much energy, so much stamina, so much mindset, so much to be productive. And that's in all aspects of your life. So those healthy boundaries are going to allow you to kind of set, I would say, if you want, a limitation. Here's the boundary. Here's what I'm comfortable doing. Here's what I'm capable doing. Here's my gifts. Here's my talents. And I can do all of this really, really efficiently, really effectively within this time frame, right? And we could use other like crazy analogies, like me driving here. So like for me to drive all the way, it's very, very difficult, right? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll drive a few hours and I'll take a nap. And then I'll drive a few more hours, take a nap. And then sometimes I'm only napping once, right? But if I have somebody with me to help support me, then we can make it all in one trip, right? And I've told Darren, it's like every single rest stop on the way between here in Denver, I have slept multiple times on both sides, all of them. Even the first one before you get to Denver, that's just like an hour outside of Denver, I've had to sleep there so many times because I cannot go any further. So that's me saying, hey, I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be courteous, but I've got to restrict my capability because I don't want to cause any harm.
Can you give an example, like in a relationship, like with your spouse? Or
Yeah, so, I mean, I could go to the extreme.
that's where they're all at anyway.
Okay, so I'll do from a men's perspective, right? So,
Can you be as descriptive as possible? I'm still learning.
Right.
I have a long ways to go.
right. So I'll go to the extreme, and then we'll kind of come down to something mellow. So, men have a higher sex drive, right? And a lot of times we go to our wife or a significant other, and we want more out of sex, and we're not getting satisfied. So then you maybe want to introduce somebody else into this relationship, right? At some point, sometime. This happens all the time. This is natural, right? Because your needs aren't being met. So you have to figure out a way to communicate, because when you bring this other person into the relationship and they're not meeting those needs, then you're going to probably 99% of the people I know that have had some type of other person in the relationship has either failed their current relationship or caused a lot of harm and destruction. So it had to be within healthy boundaries. So within that realm, you have to tell your wife or your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, like, I have these fantasies. I would like to do this with you. I really want. Are you recording this? I mean, I'm recording it, but so that's going to be the extreme, right? And so what do most men do? They don't go to their wife or their significant other. They start cheating on them, right? And so instead of communicating effectively and say, look, I want to open up this opportunity for us to grow because I'm having these thoughts, I'm having these ideas. How do I healthily do that? So why do women go to the extreme and not communicate? Why are women cheating on men? Because you're not as intimate. because you're not as emotionally attached, because you're distracted, right? That's why women cheat. We cheat for different reasons. So I'm going to tell you that's the extreme. So opening that door of communication and telling your significant other, these are the fantasies, these are the dreams, these are the things I want. But on the flip side, you have to be intimate. You have to be raw and vulnerable with that significant other, because we tend to put that shelf up and block and block and block and not open up. We tend not to cry. We tend not to let all that. That's courage. One of the people that I always admire financially and business-wise was Steve Jobs. He's done really good with his business. But anybody that been in a board meeting with him or other meetings, he cried all the time because he was so passionate about his work. He was so creative and so energized that this is emotion. And he would cry at these meetings all the time. And it's okay, man. It's completely okay to cry. So another example would be like your wife wants you to do certain chores around the house. Your significant other, whatever you are in your relationship, I don't know. I care, but I'm not judging, so I'm not going to say I don't care, because I care, but I'm not going to judge whatever you do, right? So, if she wants me to do the dishes and take out the trash and do the laundry and sweep the floor and vacuum the floor and mop the floor and do all these things, physically you have about an hour and a half of activity for me a day. Physically, I can get up and do certain things. So that's why I choose 3 30-minute walks. That's an hour and a half. That's where I'm good. I don't get worn out. It doesn't cause too much discomfort. Everybody's different. I'm going to give you my scenario. So if you want me to do all these tasks, you're going to have to pick, once again, what you want within this time frame, because that's all I'm giving you. So what is it you really want? Because those are my healthy boundaries, right? So if you're working 40 hours a week and then you come home and you're like, okay, I need this amount of time to cook and clean and do these other things, then I'm capable of doing that. But I need time for these other aspects too, because self-care is really important for me. Does that kind of answer your question? Like extreme? Because the other one's every day, but the other one's more of desires and needs and relationship aspects.
So,
Right?
fuck that, I'm not gonna do it as non-acceptable response.
Absolutely. That's right. And you have to communicate that, hey, I have to have time. Like, there's a football game on. I really want to watch this football game tonight, right? I want you to watch this football game with me.
Well, unless I get carried away.
But, well, okay. Well, maybe not her, but somebody else, right? So those are examples of how you can communicate, but you have to let them know explicitly like what's going on and why you've got this going on, right? So I've got 30 minutes and I want to talk about sleep. I know that's probably, how many people have problems sleeping? Everybody.
Woke me up.
I know, like 6 times, man. It's like you put him in a chair and put him in front of somebody that's like, get him in bed. He's like,
Like somebody mentioned earlier, the yogi, he uses his voice, so he'll automatically relax.
Yeah.
He speaks.
yeah, go to sleep. All right, so sleep has been a big issue for me. It still is. A lot of times I get up every night in pain, right, and understand. What I've noticed is, and what I'm going to suggest to you guys is like a sleep journal or a sleep record. If you have problems sleeping.
My phone does that while it's sending data.
No, you don't. You turn your phone off at night. Remember, we're not connected to technology. This is old school, man. Pen and paper. So, and on this, what you want to know is what time you go to bed, what time you woke up in the middle of the night, how many times you woke up in the middle of the night, and how long you were awake in the middle of the night.
Is that at home or a deep breath up here?
Either way,
The last night was rough.
was it? And then what time you finally wake up in the morning?
I sleep from 9 to 7
Okay,
every night.
that's a lot.
Great.
That's a lot.
Get that bed.
So, say for example, your body resonates with 7 hours of sleep, right? That's really where you feel rested, you feel recovered, you feel energized, you feel excited, like you're not lethargic, you're not like passing out all day long, like every time you sit down and, you know, at the stoplights and things like that. So what you want to do is kind of go backwards. If you're only sleeping 3 or 4 hours a night, then you need to go to bed 3 or 4 hours before you want to get up. So say you want to get up at 6, now you need to go to bed at 4 or 2 in the morning. Then you're going to get your 4 hours of sleep. You exhaust yourself. You don't take naps during the day. You stay up and push through that. And then eventually, instead of going to bed at 2 in the morning, you're going to go to bed at 1:30. You're going to stair step it back, right? And now you're going to bed at 1:30. You're sleeping until 6 in the morning. Well, then after you do this for about a week, then you go to bed at 1, right? And so you're going back. You're still getting your end result of what you want of waking up at that specific time every day. And that's really what you want to do. You want to be able to get up at the same time every single day. You want to set that alarm. So I set my alarm for 5:55. And that's what time I get up. Sometimes I can't get out of bed, but I'm awake, right? And so depending on what's going on in my life, my alarm is set for 7 days a week. So 7 days a week, that's what time I'm getting up, getting out of bed. Your bed is for 2 things. It's for sleep and sex. Sleep and sex. So if you're in your bed more than like 15 minutes and you're restless, like you go to lay down and you can't sleep, or say you go to sleep at, what'd you say, 7, 9 o'clock? I know you go to bed early.
9.
Yeah, 9 o'clock, and then you get up at 11 and you're like awake. Well, then you need to get out of bed if you're going to be up and awake in your bed for more than 15 minutes. Go do something. And then when you get tired, you come back to bed. All right, so sleep and sex, no technology, nothing like that. Just use that bed for those 2 things. That's the tool. All right. So journaling is one of the biggest keys. We're going to talk about the process of going to bed. Journaling is one of the biggest keys to let everything out from the day. So you absorb all this energy, positive or negative. You absorb all of it all day long. Work, school, relationships, finances, all of it. Journaling allows you an opportunity to release and let go. Now, I did the insomnia clinic at the VA, and they were trained by Harvard and Yale, but then I've done a lot of yoga training for this as well. So I'm incorporating all of this into one from what I've learned from both of these different organizations. When you write it down, and it doesn't have to be in this journal like your to-do list or your laundry list or anything you need to accomplish the next day, then it's not on your mind. Then you look, oh, I've written it down. And then if you forget something, you write it down. Because if you don't write it down, you're still going to think about it. Even though you know it's, oh, I got to get up in the morning, I got to get gas. I got to get up in the morning, I've got to do this. I got to do this, I got to do this. Simple, everyday task. If you write those down, then it allows your mind that space to be free for something else, right? When I got rid of all those extra clothes, then I just allowed my space to be in this container. That's all I have room for. That's it. I don't have room for anything else. I'm not going to overfill it with more and more things. So think about that in your life. Journal. Write down your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your to-do list, your task list, your goals, your visions, your dreams. Anything that's going on, you write it down, and then you're able to let it go. I encourage you to do that every single day. You'll see certain journals that'll have a yoga list, and then it'll have a lumber list of stuff that I got to get at Home Depot or Lowe's. And the next thing will be like a car list, and the next thing will be a yoga sequence, and then it'll be a music list of, oh, I want to buy these songs. And so certain journals have certain things, but then there's certain journals that I designate only to yoga, or journals like this that I only designate to talks and speaks that I'm going to do. Right? So you can have certain journals that are designated for those certain topics of things that you want to do. Right? So if you want one that's just for business and ideas and concepts, right? Or websites and things like that. Or this is a team building, right? If you have one for projects at home on your land, you know, for goats or deer or hunting or fishing or whatever, it's completely okay. I have some that are all mixed, and then I have some that are just designated for that, and then I'll transfer it from that journal to another. In order for you to properly go to sleep and sleep well, it's a 2-hour wind down. For you to properly go to sleep, it's a 2-hour wind down. That's a lot of the reasons why we don't sleep well, because we haven't given ours enough time in self-care to wind down. Now, everybody's a little different. Does anybody know, like, if they're a type A personality or they have ADD? Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to do something extremely physical at that 2-hour point. A run, a jog, push-up, sit-up, something. Go to the gym. Get all your energy out, all right? If you're going to do yoga, I'm going to encourage you to try to get into like a power vinyasa or a heated yoga class, because it's breath to movement and it's so fast-paced that you don't have time to think about something else. That's what you've got to do, is you've got to get yourself out and get all that energy, everything out. Then you can start with the other people, right? That it's time for a hot shower. It's time to stretch, maybe do some yin or deep stretch yoga. Maybe it's time to take a hot bath or get in the hot tub and get in the sauna. You cut off your technology. You cut off the TV. You can listen to some music. If you read a book and it's on a device, it has to be like in that night mode where it's easy on your eyes. But I prefer that you just go old school and read like a paperback book, right? Get your highlighter, get your journal, and take notes. That's when you start, after you've done all that, that's when you can really start journaling and letting the day go. You know, if you had any anger, any fear, any guilt, anything negative, anything positive, you begin to write it down, because now you're able to think clearly.
That's out of your end basket.
Yeah. Now you've let that day go. Another thing you have to do is a security check. How is it that you can sleep safe and sound in your house? Do you need a front porch and a back porch light on? Do you need a window cracked? Do you need a shotgun and a flashlight and a handgun next to your bed? What is it you need to feel safe in your environment? You should ask yourself that question right now and journal that. What is it that you need safe in your environment to go to bed and have rest and sleep? That's what you need to feel secure. So if you have to go lock all your doors and check all your windows to make sure that everything in your house is secure and safe for you to sleep, that's what you need to do. If you need that flashlight and that handgun or whatever it is at your nightstand, that's what you need to do. It gives you that sense of security. What is your safety check that's going to allow you to not worry and not have fear, to sleep in peace? And if there's adjustments and changes you need to make into your lifestyle or to your house, then that's what you need to do too, so you can sleep. But think about the things that you do now and how you can change some of those habits to where you can rest and relax. And realize, okay, well, I realize now that I'm not giving myself enough time in self-care. I'm not giving myself that 2-hour wind down, right? And it doesn't have to be by yourself. If you have a significant other that's the same kind of personality and enjoys the same kind of things, you guys can go to the gym together, or you can go do your hot yoga, or you can go do your jog or your push-ups and your sit-ups. You can do that with somebody else, and then you can begin to wind down with your sauna, spa, hot tub, yoga, mindfulness, whatever it is, by yourself or with somebody as well. But give yourself that time to just relax. And think about within that 2 hour, if you're listening to music or there's something on the TV or whatever it is, that it's more calming and more relaxing. You know, just like your meditation in the morning, you want that to be something calming and relaxing. But then, like when you're working out at the gym, you want something more energizing, something more upbeat. All that affects, you know, your abilities. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
This is gonna sound like a really dumb question, and I apologize in advance.
No.
But is sex considered part of the 2-hour wind down?
I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. But remember, sex is in bed. Well, I don't know. Doesn't have to be in bed. Be, you know, wherever you want. But if you're going to bed, it's either you're going to go have sex and go to bed, or you're going to go have sex and get back up. Right? So you've got to figure out for yourself, okay, what's my habit? What's that like? For me, I have sex and then I go to bed. my wife has sex and then she's like, doo-doo-doo-doo on her damn phone. And so she'll put the cover over her whole head so she can sit there and look at her news articles. Right? So I'm not going to control and manipulate her. I'm going to allow her to be, have her time, but I'm in bed, so, that's me. So once again, it's timing. Like for me,
Boundaries and communication.
yeah, for me it's timing, because like if I don't feel good, then that's not going to happen. Right? And so understand that. I don't know like what your significant other is and what her life is like, but be sensitive and open and be intimate to that, to ask them, hey, this is what I'd like to do. However you want to do it, communicate that with them, and then see when a good time is. Because sometimes for my wife, it's noon. Like, oh, I got this break right now. It's noon. That's it. That's all I got for you today. You want it? That's it. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So communicate with that. Don't have expectations. Any other questions on that? I mean, you can have mindful sex. Think about that. Like if you're concentrating just mindfully on different parts of the body, that's being mindful. And that's being intimate in that moment, and you're not distracted with everything else that's going on. Right? You're just focusing on where your hands and your fingers and everything else are. That is being completely, totally mindful. Right? So mindful in bed and out of bed, that's part of being mindful. Right? That's not a dumb question, that's a great question. Any other questions?
You handed out diffusers.
Yeah.
Are there certain oils that's used on that diffuser?
You can use...
Lavender is what you use?
well, the one upstairs has peppermint in it right now. I filled it up with peppermint.
Is there some type of oil that's supposed to make you sleep better? Or like, what's that oil? I mean, what is it?
There's some that are... so.
What's it do? What's this oil?
Yeah, so...
Oh, crap.
I'm going to tell you... I'm going to tell you that I belong to Young Living, but I belong to that... and I have a whole bunch of people here that will... if I say, hey, I have this issue, they can let me know. So there's people out there that have a lot more knowledge than I do with it, but there's certain ones that I just order over and over because I enjoy them. So I have diffusers in my bathroom, and then I have diffusers in my kitchen, and they go all the time. So I'm always having diffusers go because I like that scent and that smell, that aroma. And so some certain oils just feel better for you, but if you notice, like, you get a peppermint, it's going to be like, oh, I feel like I can breathe better, right? I feel like I'm more awake. There's some that are like sleepy time ones that you can put in that'll help you sleep and relax.
So lavender?
Yeah.
I think in that box that had the diffusers, could it not have the essential oils manual?
There's
Yeah.
different books in there.
Right, so if you want to give that, Chris, if you want to give that a look,
Yeah.
it'll tell you, it'll break down all of the essential oils, what they're for. Now, I'll put the caveat on it. I think there's something to it, holistic health. Some will say topically that works. I think really olfactory.
Yeah.
That's just me. Some people say, oh, if you put it on, all of a sudden I'm like,
Oh, yeah,
I'm very like, hey, show me the science. But studies have shown your olfactory sense is among your strongest, and it goes right to the brain. So that's why I think that's so strong.
Yep.
And so if you put it in a diffuser, it's nice. You can also put it, you can talk to people, they'll say put it on your temples, put it on your neck. Man, experimental is what I would say.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you, oh man, you put some lavender on, you're going to sleep like a baby. You may not.
Ouch! Peppermint.
But it can't hurt you.
Don't put a lot of pepper
It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Try it with the diffuser, try it with
Yeah.
just the oil itself.
Gotta be careful.
It's very concentrated. So maybe you could, if you want to put it on just straight up, that's strong.
I put it on my wrist. So I just rub it on the wrist, just like a perfume, and wear it there. If I wake up and I have a lot of like sinus, then I'll put peppermint on my clothing, and that'll help clear it up, right? So it's trial and error, figuring out, researching. I mean, if you want the contact information, there's some people. Where do you don't live here though, do you?
No, I'm in India.
Yeah, there's some ladies that I reach out to that answer all my questions, like for my medical concerns. Like, okay, I give them, hey, okay, sleep apnea. I have chronic pain, fibromyalgia, da da da. I give them the list, and then they come back and say, try these oils. Like, they're the experts. So I'm not going to tell you that I'm an expert at it, but I'm going to tell you they enhance my life. And I don't remember which ones they've told me, but those are the ones that I just keep ordering over and over because they help my life. So there's resources out there that can help you with that. But I do both. I have diffusers, and then I just put it on my wrist and then on my clothes. So they make a big impact on my life, but it's not one of those things that I ever try to push because everybody's different. Their threshold is a little bit different. So
Be prepared, they can be pricey.
well, and some people are very sensitive. So sometimes you have to do what's called a carrier oil. Like, I can put oils directly on my skin and I don't have any breakups. Some people can put a drop on their skin and have a huge reaction to that oil. So realize that about that. That's why a lot of people put it in a diffuser or put it in with another oil that's a carrier oil to diffuse, because that's very strong and very potent. So
Shea butter. Some people put it in the shea butter.
Yeah.
Shea butter.
Shea butter, yeah, so it's a big tub of it. I say a big tub, something like this, and then you put a few drops in that, you use that and smear that, and to Carrie's point, it's not as concentrated. I usually just pour it in KY.
good to go. Peppermint.
Part of my nightly routine.
KY and
It's
essential
like,
oil.
it's nothing, I'll tell you, a lavender enema.
Good to go.
You can try that out. Reed, can you do that tonight and let us know how that works?
So
That went right to sleep.
I've got about 15 minutes with you. I wanted to spend a few more minutes about healthy boundaries, and then after I listen to the other ladies talk, then I'm going to talk to you again about like health and nutrition. I just don't want to duplicate a lot of effort that she's doing, right? So I want you to think about and write this down in your journal about healthy boundaries. What in your life do you consider a good healthy boundary, and what are some of the areas that you need to work on? And I know this is a tough question, but it could be relationship, it could be work, it could be finance, any of those things. Just start thinking about it, and then I'll talk about it, and then you can just come back to this. And then write this question down. What creates stress in your life? Yep. Write it. You can start a new page. A new journal. What creates stress in your life? Those are the areas right there that you can think about healthy boundaries and where you need to start. And then, do you have a good professional, personal balance between work, professionally and personally, between your relationships?
Mine is phenomenal,
Is it?
yes.
That's awesome.
I have nothing.
You don't work? No issues?
Huh?
No drama?
I'm 100% retired.
It's perfect?
But it is, I don't work.
Are you in a relationship?
Yes.
And that's perfect?
No.
Oh, okay. So you're just being sarcastic.
You got the work part.
Oh, okay, okay,
My work relationship is amazing.
okay. It's just your personal.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
No, my work relationship is awesome.
Yeah. Spring.
My boss.
Self-employed. I hug myself every morning. Like, man, you're doing a great job at work today.
How about a bonus?
So, do you have hobbies?
I do. I build ponds and outdoor kitchens.
Good.
And I burn wood and I paint and
That's good. Hobbies,
it's all new.
yeah, hobbies are very important. I mean, having that's part of the balance of once you retire is I really encourage people to volunteer. As soon as I quit working, so my story was I did a lot of IT consulting and things, and I would come home at night and I couldn't get off the couch. And I would if I had to go pee, I just open the door and just pee out the back door. Like I couldn't get up, and a lot of times I would miss dinner. And then on the weekends I was just bedridden. I couldn't get up. My wife's like, it's not worth it. You know, financially we're okay. You should not. You only have one life to live, and you shouldn't spend all your time at work and then come home and not spend time with me at all, or the kids or the grandkids or anything like that. So it's tough, right? A man's supposed to provide for his family, supposed to be able to do all these things, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't even provide for my family, right? Because I can't even work. So I just quit, just left. And then I came home, and then after like a week, I'm like, God, I need to do something. I can't just be in this house 24/7. This is going to drive me crazy. So I started volunteering, and I volunteered at the Nelson Museum here and the War Memorial because it satisfied both. Service to the country, military, but then the creative aspect, right? So I encourage you, if you are retired, to find, and if you're not, find an opportunity to volunteer and give back to the community. It makes a huge difference. Huge difference. And that's part of your gifts and your talents. What your gifts and talents and what you're capable of, and volunteering is going to help segue that into something else and other connections. So think about your healthy boundaries. Think about your professional, your personal life, how you can have that balance, what's creating stress. And then I want you to write down, because we only have about 8 minutes left, what creates joy in your life? True joy. It's purposeful. You know, when I had to pick out 2 weeks of clothing, I had to find the clothes that I really enjoyed, the clothes that gave me a purpose, but also that I enjoyed. Now when I purchase something, I purchase it because it's really going to be useful, purposeful, and it brings me joy. All those concepts. I'm not just buying it because it's something extra or another trinket to add in. There's a purpose between that. And what is that purpose going to do?
Costs more money.
What?
Costs more money.
Yeah. Yeah. So think about this other concept, and it's called time-based activities. Give yourself a time and put that in with your healthy boundary. So, for example, you want to get up tomorrow, or say next week, you want to get up and you're like, okay, I'm going to start this day in meditation. I'm going to try this meditating thing and see how it works. How many minutes do you think you should spend the first day? An hour? Probably not.
15 minutes.
Maybe 5. Maybe 5. Just try it for 5 minutes, see how that works. And then the next day you're like, okay, I'll try this for 6 or 7, right? It's just like if you went to the gym. If I went and did like CrossFit, like I'd probably be stuck in bed for like a week, right? Like it'd kill me, right? So understand where you're at and your capabilities, but don't try to overextend on any level. So time-based activities are things in your life that you want to limit, and it's a healthy boundary. I want to do it within this time frame, right? And that kind of goes back to all those tasks that you could do at work, A, C, D, whatever it may be. Same thing in your relationships. I can only do so much in every day. So today I can wash the dishes, right? I can vacuum the floor. Tomorrow I'll do laundry and I'll mop the floor. And the next day I'll do something else. I'm going to do something every day, but I'm going to do it within this certain time frame of 30 minutes at a time. So kind of divide your day and your chunk up like that. And you're like, well, you know what? My commute to work's like 30 minutes. So I could just work on my breathing then, right? And I could be more mindful during my drive. So I'm going to get up, I'm going to spend about 5 minutes just thinking about it, and then when I get in the car, I'm going to do it. So time-based activities of what you can do while you're doing something else. Now, I want you to realize that you truly cannot multitask. You can do things really quickly, but you really truly can't multitask. You can really only focus on one thing at a time. One thought, one emotion, one feeling, one activity, this or that. So even though sometimes we do things really, really fast, we're not truly multitasking. We're just doing that one item at a time. So it's so much easier and more efficient if we're only focusing on one object, one thing at this time, accomplish that, and then move on to the other. Right? It frees up your mind. It's the same thing with journaling at night. Right? You just let all of that go. Now your mind's free to relax and chill and dream and just be present and be in the moment.
Your mind can only do one of three things at any given time.
Yep.
Exert heavy thought and energy.
Yeah.
Those the three things.
Something like that, yeah.
It's only one of those three at any given time.
Yeah. So, and you have emotions in there, so yeah. So it's just, don't try to overextend time-based activities, and it will help you with your healthy boundaries. Any thoughts? Any feedback? Anything anybody want to say?
There's a book called The One Thing that explicitly focuses on the fact that multitasking is bullshit. I think it word for word says multitasking is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because,
McEwen, Cowan.
I don't know, I thought it was a cool word. I'm not sure. I've read so many books recently.
It's called task switching.
Yeah, so if you're at work and say you are in a cubicle and you are looking at your computer screen and you have 8 tabs open and you try to switch between them, you try to write this email, you try to fill out this Excel sheet, you try to
Right.
fill out whatever. Whenever you switch, you're being less efficient than if you did
Right.
one thing, went down and moved to the next one, because you have to switch your brain to each thing, and that takes time.
Yeah, so don't try to overdo it. Don't try to overextend yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. Remember this morning I talked about productive discomfort versus pain. Like you're going to have certain pain, right? We all have certain elements, certain things like that. But think about that in all concepts and aspects of your life. How productive can you be? And it's going to be a little discomfort. It's going to be a little different breathing through your belly and breathing slow and counting your breath. It's going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's going to be productive. And then eventually it's going to be that habit, right? And then you're going to grow. And then one thing that I tell people when I do my yoga teacher training, there's one thing that they always tell me that I'm really good at is I'm really good at understanding people's gifts and talents and how they can connect with the community. So even though they go through a yoga teacher training, it's more of a self-help, right? I do these same kind of lectures through my yoga teacher training. And so a lot of times people go through training and I'm like, I think you should work with Parks and Rec, or I think you should do things outdoor, or you should go work with kids or whatever. It has nothing to do really with teaching yoga, but through that journey I'm able to kind of segue them into what they should be doing. So think about your gifts and your talents and how you can connect those with the community, right? How is it you can use your gifts and talents each and every day for yourself and for others?